Hey guys, we got a good video for you today. I'm actually really proud of everything that I've planned out, so let's see if it holds up to it. Alright, so let's see what we got laid out today. We've got my jump box, not sponsored. We've got a jump box connected to this little 500 watt motorcycle amp that does have a crossover in it somehow. It's not a very good crossover, but it's in there, connected to the 6.5 inch that I displayed in another video. And we have a Pioneer 900 watt here. You can't even get these anymore. I think they're just 1,000 now, and this is like a discontinued model, but these things work good when they do. They do have a little bit of a problem with I think moisture getting in them and then having to wait for them to thaw out so that you can actually use them, or else safety will kick on. And then we've got my old Solar Barrack that was going bad, so that we can have a little bit of a display on voice coils and dual voice coils and single voice coils. And then we have this other 6.5, or maybe this is even a 6 inch, I'm not sure, but this came out of a Vizio, or well, still is in a Vizio, but that was just a sound bar that went bad. So then I took this and just wired it up, because why not? And then we have an old Pyramid amp. Check that thing out. We're going to talk about that more later. And this thing, yeah, we'll talk about more on that later. And then that amp. So I guess what I should really start out with is this little, well, it fell. Well, that's, give me a second. So we've got the jump pack powering this little thing. We've got the remote and the 12 volt hooked into the hot, of course. Normally you would run your remote to either your radio or tap a fuse that comes on with your accessory, and when your vehicle's running. Don't be like my grandfather, who wired his lights into the radio and then the radio into the amp, so nothing would cut on unless the lights were on. But anyway, so I've got this little RCA to 3.5 millimeter audio jack hooked into my phone so that we can see. Let me just use my fingerprint there. Now, I'm sure you can hear that. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. So that's what the crossover on. So essentially, if you don't know, a crossover just gets rid of the highs. So like anything past, I don't know, like 60 hertz and up. Some are adjustable, but this one is not. It just has, if you can see it, it just has low, off, which brings in the highs, and then high. So you can hear the difference, because now there's not going to be any bass. You can hear that. So there's still a little bit of bass, but nothing like that. That's low. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, it's 2-channel, which brings me to my next topic. A 2-channel versus, I think this one, no, this one is not. Actually don't have a monoblock here, but we can go to my truck and I'll show you what a monoblock is. But first we'll talk about 2-channel. So 2 channels, they have the same power supply that runs 2 different channels that goes through the amp. Now, a bunch of people wonder which is better, a 2-channel or a monoblock. Monoblock, in my opinion, is better because there's less noise that picks up. They're a lot more powerful generally, especially nowadays. And let me make sure YouTube autoplay doesn't, stop, no. There we go. So anyway, where was I? Right, dual channel. These are good for like low end setups, but I swear if you look at any other setup that's like high quality, like I'm talking about the big boy stuff, you're gonna see a monoblock amplifier. You're not gonna see 2 channels right here. And don't get me wrong, these are great. These have lasted me a while, but they're tired and they're old. And now, if you'll allow me, can I pop? We swapped over to our 12 solo barrack. Got quite a bit of flex. It's pretty cool. Now, let's listen to it and see what this little thing does with it. Okay, the speaker may be from, oh, look at that. Bad voice call right there. It's a sign. Check this out. See, nothing's happening? Isn't that wild? You have to press down on it to get it to make any noise. See? Isn't that wild? I'm waiting for the bass to kick in. I bet when the bass kicks in, this will actually move by itself. Let's see. Maybe not. It's probably not powerful enough. Oh, there it goes. This little amp isn't powerful enough to make it angry, but so yeah, there's that. So essentially a dual voice coil is just 2 voice coils wrapped up in one. It's even more pushing power because, as you know, it's, wow, that feels really weird. And another voice coil wrapped around a magnet, and then you energize it and it sends it up and then drops back down. And that's why if you reverse, it'll pull instead of push, and vice versa, which is pretty neat. Now, this is a single voice coil, this is a single voice coil, and this is dual. Duals pack a lot more punch. This is also 2 ohm and this is 4 ohm. 4 ohm is more audible bass, 2 ohm is more of bass that you can feel. Stop auto playing, jeez. Alright, that's enough of that. So this is the Pyramid Super Pro, and this one gave up the ghost a while back. We're not sure what's wrong with it, but it is a 4-channel. Now, this one I remember always sounding pretty good. I assume, I've never looked inside of it, but I assume what's going on is there are 2 channel amps in here, is what I'm assuming. And while this looks really cool, I'm also assuming that there's probably a lot of noise that gets tangled up unless it has some freaking great crossovers. I mean, look at all the settings on this thing. That's crazy. But yeah, this one hasn't been used in a while because it doesn't work in general, which is really sad. But look at all those connections right there. Isn't that crazy? Now, we have an Alpine bridgeable power amplifier. This thing is old as the day is long, and it is dual channel. However, back in the day when my dad was booming, he still is, but back in the day when he was booming a little harder than he is now, he had a guy work on this and make it a monoblock, which is why it only has 2 ports, and also why it has all this crap hanging out of it. And I think the RCA ports went die, so then they added these in. This thing, when it worked properly, right now because of a bunch of loose connections, it picks up noise and sounds terrible. But when it worked back in its day, this is like comparable to the stuff that I buy nowadays that is like high dollar. I know it's crazy, but yeah, this little thing was a beast. Now we move on to the last one, the 150 watt Rampage. I honestly almost didn't include this one, but the reason I like it so much is because a bunch of my amps died a while back and I had to run this one, and it was pretty impressive because no matter how much of a load you could put on it, it would push 100% all the time. And that's probably due to this. It has a fan on it. this little amp actually has an electric fan for cooling, which is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. You could never get this thing to overheat. Granted, it's a 150, but I put this thing through rough times, and I could never get it to overheat. I hooked this thing up to a 15 one time, just to see what it would do, and it actually pushed it not bad. Can't even read the bottom of it anymore, but yeah. So that's most of the amps and stuff. If I had to give a review, I'd say these Pioneers right here, these things are pretty good. Like, they're good when they work, but if you get one that has that weird thing where it won't cut on when you first power it, and then you have to wait like 15 minutes because of a safety feature, and then it finally cuts on, and then it works, it's great. When it works, it's great. The lens are 6.5 inch. I mean, it's a 6.5 inch speaker. If I had spent more time on the box, I probably could have got it to sound a little better,